Hello and welcome to Business Reporter's Internet of Things campaign. I'm Alistair Greener. We hear about plenty of eye-opening new use cases for 5G technology. They include remotely performed surgeries or autonomous cars, and the potential for 5G to enable us to download high-definition movies in just seconds. This is undoubtedly appealing, but surely there's more to 5G than futuristic applications and instant solutions for the time poor. What can 5G do for more transactional IoT applications with low data requirements and a high tolerance for latency? To answer these questions, we've invited Adam Cousin from Telit to the studio. Good morning.
Good morning, Alistair.
Some people say that it's the bottlenecks that's preventing IoT from reaching its full potential. How does 5G overcome that?
5G really removes a lot of the bottlenecks because it allows MNOs to sweat their radio assets better. It also brings about new radio characteristics. So as part of the Release 16 specification that was launched very recently, the new radio unlicensed element was introduced. And this allows operators or even individual organizations to build their own 5G infrastructure, private 5G infrastructure that allow 5G devices to connect within a confined environment, within a closed sandbox environment. They'd still be capable of connecting to the public 5G infrastructure, of course. But of course, if you take sub-6 gigahertz, you take millimeter wave technology, you add all this together, what you end up with is the ability to embrace a lot more devices in a given location than is currently possible with LTE. And this is really where 5G brings a lot of benefit, is in the sheer scale of devices it can cater for with regards to implementations.
What is it that distinguishes Telit from other providers?
We are one of the longest running module manufacturers in the world, and we are one of the only module manufacturers that isn't just focused on being a hardware only provider. We try and provide this full service, so not just modems, but connectivity, but device management. We also provide I like to think, an unparalleled level of technical capability with regards to assisting customers with integration. We provide a pre-compliance service. Now this is huge. When you take a device from prototype into production, you have to sometimes spend tens or even hundreds of thousands of dollars getting your product pre-approved before you can even go to market. So this is a huge hurdle, and of course it's something where many companies fall a cropper with regards to devices failing and having to resubmit. What Telit provides is the ability to put a device into our chambers in Trieste and actually go through the motions of all those tests, and we can identify any deficiencies and help the customer put them right before they go and part with any money in an actual approvals house. We've got hundreds of customers that have used this service over the years, as you can imagine. It's very popular, but it's one of the key differentiators that we have against our competition.
Another concern is carrier aggregation. How do you deal with that?
Absolutely. So I mentioned earlier about our LM960. So the LM960 is a Cat18 product, and part of the Cat18 specification is it has to support something called 5x carrier aggregation in order to really, truly satisfy the need for its 1.2 gigabit per second downlink. And it uses multiple carrier aggregation in the uplink as well in order to achieve 150 megabits in the uplink channel. Now, ironically, despite the fact this modem being capable of a gigabit plus, which is essentially 5G speeds, right? Actually, most IoT applications focus more on the uplink capability because you want to get devices out of the edge, not into the edge. In order to satisfy the 150 megabits per second, you have to employ carrier aggregation. Now, there's two types of carrier aggregation. There's intra-band, where the carrier aggregation has to happen within the same band. And then there is interband, where the carrier aggregation can happen on two totally separate bands from the same service provider. What the LM960 does is it's able to use two different bands. We've employed the necessary RF componentry on the front end of the modem in order to satisfy the need for that. And it's something actually fundamentally most network operators can't provide that level of capacity on a single band. So if you compare two modules side by side, ours would look the same as the competition's, but you have to scratch the surface and see the finer detail to make sure that actually you're comparing apples with apples.
We've talked a lot about the technologies and these emerging technologies. For a member of the C-suite who's watching this interview, what are the main takeaways you would like them to remember when it comes to IoT implementation?
So the three key takeaways are in fact three letters: TCO, the total cost of ownership of the deployment. The total cost of ownership of an IoT deployment is only really truly realised after the deployment has taken place. Now, these C-suite managers will have determined why they want to get into IoT. You know, that hopefully it's not just because they heard the term and think it's a great idea because everyone else is doing it. They will have determined that ultimately it's going to save them cost or time, or it's going to save them something at a business level, or even make them money because of increased, data sales and things like that, sharing of data. Once a product's deployed, they have to ensure that that product keeps working in the field. A truck roll to that product, sending an engineer out on site, could cost hundreds and hundreds of dollars, which completely destroys all of the pricing negotiations that took place in the early days concerning how much is the module and how much is the connectivity and how much is the cloud service. So they really must consider the TCO of the deployment rather than the upfront cost of actually implementing the technology.
Well, you've given us a huge amount to think about, but also a lot of clarity when it comes to these new technologies. So it's been great to find out more. Adam Cousin from Telit, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.